1, 2, you hear me? Welcome. There is a small announcement that we would like to make, and it's a common decision from the Greek filmmakers attending Berlinale. I will read you a small text. In Greece, drama school students, actors, and artists...
Could the audience please be a little bit quieter? Thank you.
In Greece, drama school students, actors and artists are fighting against government legislations with strikes, protests and occupations. We stand by them and fight by their side. The Greek artists currently in Berlinale. Thank you.
Since so many of you here, I'm going to make it quick. My name is Toby Ashraf. I'm part of the selection committee of the Panorama, and will quickly, I see your hands, introduce the panel. Before I have one question for the producers and then give it over to you. We have, to my very, very right, Dries Flippo. He's the producer. He already produced films in the Berlinale like Cobain. And the work of Sasha Pollack, which I also mentioned because Sasha Pollack's new film is also in the Panorama. Please welcome producer Dries Flippo. That is not Marcos Cantor. So did we change?
Oh, that's Marcos.
You're here. Yeah, exactly. I know that you are Marcos. I was starting from the wrong side. Marcos Cantor sitting right next to me. You know him as the producer of Stuyck, film that 5 years ago opened the Panorama. Or oh boy, welcome back with a bit of a rusty voice today, Marcos Cantis. In a very small but very important role as the person who owns the art, I guess, Jan Bervoets. In the role of the cleaning lady whose job I don't envy once she enters this apartment, Eliza Stuyck. In the role of the director, he made one film, 2015, called My Friend Larry Gus. This is the debut as a fiction filmmaker in this international production. Please welcome Vasilis Katsoupis. He needs no introduction, I'm going to do it anyways. He's a 4-time Academy Award nominee, has been working for 20 years, is no stranger to controversial material, has been working with everyone from Scorsese to Oliver Stone to Lars von Trier. In 2018, the Berlinale even dedicated an homage to him. Please welcome the incomparable and amazing Mr. Willem Dafoe. Yet another producer, he is also known for his work of producing Triangle of Sadness, just saying Yorgos Karnavas. Last but not least, and it doesn't often happen, a curator is on this stage. He curates in real life, but also curated the art in this film. Please give it up for Leonardo Bigazzi. Let me start quickly, I see you all. Just one question. So a Greek filmmaker who has never made a fiction film before wants to make a film. This is a question to all producers. You have an amazing set design, you have real art, you have a Hollywood icon, and you managed this, to do this. How did you do this? How did you make this film? How did you get the money together? And how did you accomplish this fantastic journey? To all of you.
Well, I only want to say that this film is the definition of people believing in crazy ideas. It was Vasilis came with a simple sentence to us. It was nuts. We never thought that we managed to do it, but then I had some co-producers who learned about it. I mean, I reached out to Marcos. He was one of the first person I reached out. He said, "Yes, let's do it, man. Let's try it." I think then we did the unthinkable. We brought it in front of Willem. It was like a small text, and he said, "I want to meet you." I remember the date. It's like my birthday, 16th December 2018, London, remember?
Sure.
And after, a couple of, I think it was an hour or something, and he said, I'm this guy, I'm going to do it, make your job, find the money. So it's the definition of a project that people get carried away with the idea, and it's a product of faith and love, totally. And yeah, that's it.
Please, Marcos, do you want to add anything, or has it all been said? Since you're so many, I think I saw you first. Maybe you can stand up and tell us your names and the medium that you work for, and make it quick.
Yeah. I'm Natalia Zhuk. I'm from Ukrainian Moviegram website, and I'm really happy to see you here again, Mr. Dafoe, and their film is absolutely amazing. My question is, first, what got you in this project? It's basically a one-man show. What was the most interesting for you as you accepted? And for all of you, what's your attitude to modern art? How important it is in your lives? Thanks.
Am I okay? Yeah. Many things attracted me to this project. Not because I didn't have a sense that it was a solo, like a solo. There are other actors, obviously, but most of the time I'm by myself. But it was mostly Vasilis pitched this idea that I liked very much. I knew we were going to shoot in sequence, which is very interesting, and I knew that the screenplay was going to be a blueprint, because there were many things that we couldn't solve or we couldn't know how they would be done until we got in the space. And I think that's always a beautiful way to work, when you get in a space, to work with what you have there. That's very important. And when it's well designed and well prepared, that's a beautiful way to work, as opposed to having an idea, getting there, and always forcing things into the way of your idea. So it felt very free. The basic premise was exciting to me. You get the idea. Good people. I liked how they approached me, and it seemed like it would be a challenge to do this text that is very active, but it's also meditative at the same time. It's very internal, but it's very physical. So those contradictions make for an interesting project. And just quickly, for modern art, I love going to see art. I love going to galleries. What I see often inspires me.
Next question over there, please.
Hi, it's a couple of questions from Brazil. Rodrigo Fonseca, Estadão. The first one for Vasilis. I would like to hear about the real artists, the real artwork in the film, and to Mr. Dafoe. In his last interview, Hector Babenco said that you are an architect of silence. This is a very silent film somehow. I would like to understand your architecture of silence a little bit, if you could say a few words about how coping with silence to create a character like this.
No, you first.
Yeah, okay. I mean, for me to talk about the art, I mean, it's very important in my film, and I really want it to be so important. It is the co-star in the film, together with the design and the architecture in the film. I was extremely lucky to have Leonardo Bicassi saying yes to our proposal for him to do the curation of the artworks. For me, art, it's important that it's we tend to forget that art basically is a mean of communication. And most of the time we think art as a commodity, as an investment, but basically art is a way of communicating. People were always communicating with art, and we know so many things about ancient civilizations left all these artworks and artifacts for us to understand what their lives was about. But to tell you the truth, the most special person to talk about the art in the film is Leonardo.
You want me to add something?
Yeah, if you have something to add.
Yeah, well, obviously. First of all, I think to answer the previous question, I think art, in whatever form it is it make it a painting or a film, becomes, in my opinion, the most important trace of humans on this planet. Many other traces, unfortunately, are things that we would like to avoid, but art definitely is something that defined the human nature since 40, 50,000 years. And to answer the question about the real artist, I think because you're writing for Brazil, I think it's very important to mention that we have 3 iconic Brazilian artists, among which Jonatas de Andrade, who represented Brazil at the Venice Biennale this year, and Cynthia Marcel and Maxwell Alexander, that it's this beautiful painting that is part of the living room, and so a work that we had conversations how much you engage with it also, not only in the film, but also in real life in New York.
It's a long story.
Next question over here.
Oh, and just real quick,
I'm sorry.
An interesting thing, Hector Babengo's comment, I'll take it as flattery. I don't think of myself that way, but one thing is true, that I'm always attracted to doing things in performing, and when you don't have text to speak and you start relating to objects and you're speaking, but you're speaking without words. And that's always interesting, because then you don't fall into the usual traps of explaining and caught up in traditional recognizable psychology, and you can enter more into this ground of mystery.
Hi, I'm Mati Petlik from Slovenia, and I have 2 questions for Mr. Dafoe. At the very beginning of the film, your character answers a question, which 3 things would he take in case of a fire? I would like to ask that to you. And also, right after that, there's a sequence in a fishbowl. The first fish you see, it's really similar to the fish you lend your voice in Finding Nemo. Is this a coincidence, or is it like a nod to the film? Thank you very much.
And his name is Nemo, mind you. Yeah.
Coincidence. And, you know, I don't waste time thinking about what I'd take out if, you know, the house was on fire. I just pray that there won't be a fire. It's wasted effort.
Question over here.
I'm Irina Soroka from Ukraine. I have one question to Mr. Dafoe. This year, one of the main topic of Berlinale is solidarity with Ukraine. Last summer, you took part in a performance for supporting Ukraine. Will you support Ukraine in war against Russia in future?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Will you support Ukraine in future?
Well, you were part of a performance for Ukraine last year, is what you said?
I don't know that so much. Which performance was that?
Can you elaborate on that?
I don't know.
Acting. Theater of War.
Theater of War. Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
Yes, and I was happy to do that, the Theater of War performance, and we did it with some people from the Ukraine, and to express support, and also that was Philoctetes? Yeah, Philoctetes. That was to also, it was a classical text that we did that gave another way to think about what's going on in the Ukraine. So, of course, that for me was a creative response to what's going on there. And, of course, it's to support the people of Ukraine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Can you just pass the mic to your colleague over there? But the next question is over here, please.
Oras Kiribayev, Esquire, Kazakhstan. I have a rather silly question to Vasilis. In the very beginning of the movie, we learned that Jean's character went on a trip to Kazakhstan. And because Kazakhstan doesn't really get mentioned a lot in movies, my question is, why did you choose this country, and what was Jean's character doing exactly in Kazakhstan?
Okay, that's a good one. I wonder too. I think the scriptwriter chose Kazakhstan because there is a big, how you call it, construction going on there with a huge architectural project. So he's, I mean, my character is not only an art collector. In reality, he's a star architect. This was, you know, a really well-known Pritzker Prize honored architect. So that was the reason that it's a country that they are involved in many huge architectural projects, and it's very far from New York.
Next question over there.
Hi, Ana Enguix from La Cartelera Turia, Spain. This is a question for Leonardo Bigazzi. As an art historian, I really appreciate all the art pieces that appear on the movie. And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more which was the aesthetic that you were looking for choosing those art pieces, the line, because I find them truly amazing, and congratulations.
Thank you. Well, when I had the fortune of being invited for this film by Giorgos and Vasilis, of course it was a no-brainer to answer yes, to have the opportunity to work with such an incredible team. So the approach, the beginning was the dialogue with Vasilis himself, who studied art history. So I found someone who I could, you know, have a dialogue with and who could understand the references and the direction that we were taking. And already in the script and already in the vision of not only Vasilis but also the producer, the art was having such an important role. So the approach was really to think of the art in the exhibition, in the film, as a character. So developing, either responding to the psychological evolution of the character of Nemo in the film. So some of the works speak about suspension of time, some of them speak about power, control, being trapped, and engage in different ways in with the architecture of the set. Some of them, for example, the work of Rayan Tabet, the rings extend from the inside to the outside, which is precisely what the character is not able to do. So I was, of course, directed by Vasilis in the sense of some of the feelings that he wanted from the collection. For example, portraits and characters that could make it almost feel that the leading character is observed all the time by the portrait, for example, of Albrecht Fuchs, or the beautiful work of A Perfect Day by Maurizio Cattelan. I would say that, yeah, the approach was very much about responding, both imagining a character that doesn't exist in the film, apart from moments, of course, when it shows in his dreams, meaning the collector. So there's works that reference architecture, there's works that engage with the architecture of the set in a very complex, let's say, way, and to the psychological journey of the character.
Next quick question from you.
My name is Mahar Sigit, African Refugee News. Mr. Vasilis, your film, you're Greek, so it's like a cat from the past Greek films. Is this a new renaissance of Greek films? And then, Mr. Dafoe, all your films, you sacrifice yourself. Oh, whatever I saw, then you know me well. And I want to know, will you do one day, like Robert De Niro told me, I'll make a love story where I don't have to...
They're all love stories.
Sorry.
That's not about loving myself.
I didn't quite understood the question. Do you mean if it's a different kind of Greek film from the previous?
I tell you, I've been born with Greek films from Sudan.
Okay.
And so I know the Greek really. Your film is something new.
Yeah.
And you are Greek, even if you, I don't know if you study in America, but this is a Greek film, the camera work.
Yes.
When you get him, I remember old friends, but this is new. I want to know if this a new renaissance of the...
I don't know if, I mean, making a new renaissance in the Greek film, I think it's a very big expression, but definitely it's, as a film, it's a different kind of Greek film, because until now you have this flourish of the new Greek weird wave cinema. Definitely my film, it's not a part of, I guess, I mean it could, but of this Greek new wave, weird wave cinema. But I think it's more an international film than a hardcore Greek film.
Next question over there, please.
Hello, this is Maria Muñoz from Neo2 in Spain. It's a very silly question that I was like, all the movie was in my background. Why William doesn't have a mobile phone to call someone?
Yes, it's not a silly question.
In this super high-tech house and so on, building.
It is not a silly question, actually. When you go to a heist like this, you really don't want to have something that it can track you. So a mobile phone, it's a tracking device for police, for everything. So the only way that they can communicate is by walkie-talkies, by this thing. That's why he doesn't have a mobile phone.
But I will say, I want to remind him that at one point there was a mobile phone. And part of the narrative was, it was losing charge, and after a while he couldn't use it. So, but there was a lot of discussion about these things. Once we got in the space, because we had to find the logic that was right before us.
Thank you very much. Next question was over there, yes.
Hello, my name is Olga. I'm from Cineast. It's also a Korean magazine. And my question is to Mr. Willem Dafoe. Thanks for your brilliant job, first of all. And second of all, a couple of years ago, film Lighthouse by Robert Eggers came out. And I want to ask you, where would you rather stuck, on an island with lighthouse or in a flat like this?
Between these two places? You're not giving me much of a choice.
I'm sorry.
Behind her.
Neither. How's that for an answer?
Okay, the next question is over here. Yes.
Hi, Ariane Kwaja from the University College London Film Society. My question is for Mr. Dafoe. So I want to ask, throughout your work, you've played artists in different capacities. Your character in To Live and Die in LA happens to be an artist, and you've portrayed two great artists in two different mediums, Pasolini and Van Gogh, as well as portraying the conflicted inner life of an artist in Abel Ferrara's Tommaso. And I want to ask, and in addition to working with the legendary painter Julian Schnabel over multiple occasions, I want to ask whether your relationship to art in any way has been mediated through your relationship to film or vice versa.
Listen, I grew up in New York, as an adult in a very fertile time where the art world really exploded. And that was... and the theater that I worked with a lot of artists. So I grew up, loving to go to galleries, doing studio visits, things like that. I don't know. I just like things that let us see things anew, look in new ways. And that's always what I'm interested in, because we always got to, the thing that I dedicate myself to, I try to anyway, is to not get stuck. Because when you get stuck, you start to protect your point of view, and you stop thinking, you stop being empathetic towards other people, you stop making things, you stop being productive, and you kind of dig in. And then it's just this march toward death. So that's my relationship to art, basically. I like things that take you off your game, take you off your way of thinking, because art is such a fertile place for us to become disoriented and become, connected to the mystery of things. You can do it in nature, you can do it in many ways, but art is very powerful that way.
Next question over there.
Hi, Valentina Vignoli, Italian newspaper La Ragione. I wanted to ask if you know the Italian release date. And my second question was about the lyrics at the end of the movie that you sing. I didn't quite catch those. So if you could repeat them. And congratulations, it was amazing. So many layers. Thank you.
I think it's a wonderful story how the lyrics end up in the...
Which ones?
I'm going to...
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That you're referring to.
This is what Willem said in the beginning, that the film was very open, and we were able to explore new elements outside the script as well, and making new things and improvising things. And this came in a dinner talk about a personal thing.
My mother was a nurse, and I remember as a very young child, she talked about a patient that she had, and he was a catatonic, and from morning to night, he sang this song. I'm going to heaven on a hillside. I'm going to heaven on a hillside. And that haunted me. So that came to mind for someone trapped. He was trapped in his body. And the really interesting thing, should I tell the other part?
Of course.
Maybe it's cool, I guess. It's interesting. His personal history was, this guy was going to shoot himself. He was depressed. And as he was putting the gun to his head, his wife walked into the room. He became confused and he shot her. And from that moment, he became catatonic. And from then on, that was the phrase that dominated his life. I'm going to heaven on a hillside. I'm going to heaven on a hillside. Yeah.
It would be so great to close now with you, with Mr. Willem Dafoe singing. You were patient enough. Come on, you get the last question. Make it quick.
Thank you very much. My name is Oksana, TV1 KG, Kyrgyzstan. Mr. Dafoe, if I'm not mistaken, you are a follower of Stanislavski acting method, and you mentioned that's what I read in Google.
I don't follow no one. No.
Okay.
I follow lots of people, and one thing interesting about Stanislavski is, to my understanding, because I'm not a scholar, but I have read the books. They're notoriously badly translated, and also in America particularly, I feel like there have been schools of acting that have taken one aspect of what Stanislavski was teaching and developed a whole theory of acting about it. And acting, each time you do something, you have to remake, it's a different recipe, it's a different meal, you've got to deal with it that way. So I don't mean to be flip. I just am not trained or subscribed to one particular method. And I must say, you get me wanting to, talk about my beef that Stanislavski is misunderstood, because he really does talk about action. He doesn't talk about emotion. And I think with all the emotional recall and the personalizing that became popularized in the 50s and 60s, particularly as I understand it, by the Actors Studio, it's just one aspect. It's like thinking about Japanese food and saying, I know Japanese food, sushi. Stanislavski was a great thinker, and when I did read him, I was very turned on, but I don't subscribe to any particular method.
Can you tell about that sequence shooting? Was it helpful, or it make it
fantastic? Because first of all, it forces you to be present-minded. It forces you to deal with what's there. And sometimes in movies, you never want to indicate and you never want to show. You want to do this to do this. You don't want to point to things. But at the same time, sometimes you do say, oh God, now what happened before this? Remember, this just a horrible thing happened, so think of that. So when you do this scene, that's a consideration. There's none of that. There's no approximating. What you're doing is what you're doing. You're reaching for the glass. And then your relationship to those actions has a different flavor, has a different, you see it in a different way. It becomes more elemental. You don't think about just the object. You think about what's behind the object. And then that becomes the secret door to open to a certain kind of, touching spiritual impulse behind everything. It introduces you into the swirl, and that turns me on to no end. Yeah.
Perfect closing statement. I have the feeling we could all sit here for 2 more hours, but we have to move. Inside is celebrating its world premiere tonight at the Zoopalast. Thank you, everyone at the podium, and thank you very much for your amazing questions, actually, dear colleagues. Thank you. See you around.